Hey everyone, welcome back to Taproot TV. I'm Benna Hughes, and today we are going to talk about quality. We've talked about it in the past somewhat in regards to the quality of the product that's put out there. There's kind of a bigger picture about this that we're going to talk about today that has to do with the cost of quality. And Chris Vallee is here. He's our expert on quality. And Chris, welcome.
Hi.
So tell me, you've got this awesome little report you've given me. Let's kind of dive in. So basically, when companies talk cost of quality, what is often discussed?
Well, see, one of the things that I started in quality long before I started in safety. And at the top of the chart every morning, we're talking about what's the cost of quality today? What did it cost a company? What compliance issues do you have? And everything that comes to the very top of the iceberg, like people like to say, is what we focus on. But at the end of the day, what they focus on are audit findings. They focus on loss of money. They focus on rework. They focus on all the internal stuff. In other words, the impact of what this rework is going to cost a company.
Right.
But there's something missing.
Yes.
Something that was missing, like when I work with safety. So in safety, we want to do what?
Make sure everybody gets home alive.
Save lives, exactly. But with quality, the technician, the specialist, are further removed from the harm of a defect.
Right.
It's a compliance finding. It's, we're coming in here to do the big ISO audit. We got to make sure everything's dotted off correctly. They forget what they're building, what they're producing, the service they're providing. They're just doing an everyday job. So the question is, if all we focus on when we say cost of quality is the internal pains,
right,
then we've lost focus of the customer.
Okay. Very important, because the customer is the person who's using it.
Exactly. and we see that every day.
Yeah.
We see that every day about the real cost and impact of the cost of quality.
So explain some of the impact.
Well, recalls. How often have you gotten a recall on any of your cars?
A car? Quite a bit, yeah.
And is it just a defect you bring it in for, or is it usually a safety factor?
It's usually a safety factor.
Right. So most recalls got to the point of somebody's got hurt, somebody's going to get hurt, or we maybe feel if you think about VW, an environmental issue.
Right.
But there's a recall for a reason. Now, if it's a defect, the part wasn't put in correctly, the nut on the bolt corrodes faster, that's a defect. But the person who builds it, maybe the person who picked the bolt, maybe the designer who picked the bolt, they're so far removed from the end user, they forget the importance of building something to the correct specifications as an inspector to catch it. I mean, you look at, pharmaceutical, a couple of things I have here, foreign material. How many pills have, prescription pills or over-the-counter pills do people swallow a day?
Right. Oh, so many.
And if you go to the FDA recall write-ups, you see foreign material listed thousands of times. So is it dust? Is it metal?
Well, even in food. That came up recently.
Tyson.
Yes. Yep. And I've heard different things. There's been metal in food, and there's been plastics in foods that people have. That's come up a lot lately.
Yeah. I mean, even think like a barbecue. A little wire from your brush, that's foreign material that you ingest, has caused major intestinal issues.
A perforation.
But the thing is, that's a defect. Somehow that foreign object, that material inside there, got released to the customer.
Okay.
But as a builder, as a manufacturer, as a technician who comes in every day, even when they're using the tools that they're supposed to, they can still make a defect. Even when they're following the training they're supposed to, they can still have a defect. But they don't understand the true impact of if something goes wrong, raise your hand, because this could affect the customer. And so the idea is, when I talked about cost of quality as a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, it was all about the internal cost. How much can I save money? How much can I reduce cycle time? Or how can we reduce findings? But we never really talked about the impact to the end user.
Yeah.
That's the real cost of quality. Now, the difference between safety, so I teach a bunch of people in safety.
Right.
And they really, and we haven't mentioned it yet, but we teach Taproot.
Yes, we do.
So I teach a bunch of people in safety, and a defect in safety is when you don't wear the lanyard when you're climbing, when you don't lock it out properly. Well, the impact, the harm to the customer is so close to them, you know immediately that what caused that injury,
Right.
that defect is so close to that problem, you can really relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a service provider, I have people buy parts for oil rigs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the part was built by this person, a supplier assembled it here, somebody shipped it here. All those defects get passed from place to place to place. And so if something breaks and falls on a rig and hits somebody,
Mm-hmm.
kills somebody, that could have been driven by a defect.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I can see the way you're progressing that. I haven't even thought about that, as how far back it could go, where that starts.
Right. So that's like, so in Taproot, one of the things we teach is how to investigate human performance.
Right.
But one of the categories on the root cause tree is equipment difficulty. Well, the first thing you have to do is determine, was that part used correctly when it broke?
Mm-hmm.
Was it maintained properly? And if it broke and was used correctly, we have questions that go to the vendor, the manufacturer, the purchaser. Why? Because defects can kill.
Oh, definitely.
So I wanted to kind of hit the emphasis that when you think of cost of quality, it's not just internal.
Right.
When you think of cost of safety, it's not just not being compliant.
Mm-hmm.
It's the end result, the impact at the end of the day.
Well, and you're talking about that it has to do with the end user. Well, that end user is the one that drives the business. So unhappy end users
Exactly.
can really hit the bottom line.
Exactly.
So do you have some suggestions for how companies can work on these issues?
Well, the first thing is when you have, let's say, a compliance finding,
Mm-hmm.
or the FDA will send out declaration letters or audit findings. When you get a finding, just don't look at the finding itself. So, for example, they may say you didn't follow a policy, you didn't follow the cleaning policy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what they're just writing up. They're saying because you didn't follow this cleaning policy, a product could go out the door that wasn't sterile. Because you didn't follow the torquing policy, this bolt can go out loose and vibrate off and kill somebody.
Ooh.
It's not just a finding. It's what was that rule put in place for? What was that procedure put in place for? So when you're doing the TAP investigation, if you define the incident, the circle, the correct way,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to say defect with potential for foreign object swallowed by patient. Defect with potential for something becoming vibrating and loose and falling off. Identify what that defect was supposed to prevent if it wasn't there. And if you define your snap chart incident properly, you'll find better causal factors to where it was created, to where we should have caught it, why did it get to the customer? Or if it didn't get to the customer when we found it the first time, why didn't we stop it?
Right.
That's all the timelines and everything we teach in Taproot.
Right.
So define your incidents properly to what they relate to.
So you're working on a new course for Taproot that's quality based.
Right. So one of the things with Taproot is that when we have a lot of safety people sit in the course, they can identify hazards real easy. Too much electricity present, too much pressure present, something not drained. Well, the people who are in quality, sometimes they look at that and go, I don't deal with hazards. I deal with specifications.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Having the right oil in an engine reduces the heat in the car, and the car lasts longer. Whatever your specification was designed, put in place for, it was designed to control something. So in the quality course, we're going to relate how Taproot fits directly into everything they were trying to control. And that's what's going to be really good about the quality course.
I think it's really exciting, and I think the clients are really going to be happy about that. You know, we talk, like you said, safety all the time.
Right.
And I'll have them, every once in a while I'll get calls about quality, but then I've now started asking the clients myself about quality, and they haven't even thought about it.
Right.
So this is going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to your course, and I think it's going to be wonderful for our clients. Do you have a little time frame you're looking at?
Put me on the spot. It'll be a defect if I don't get it out in time. I'm looking at, I'd like to have this out in the next couple of months.
Sounds
So
great.
in
So definitely before our next summit.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds great. Well, if this sounds like something that you could use at your company, which I think sounds like most every company could use this, we want you to contact us and we can give you more information. We can definitely, like we said, it's be a few months before this is ready, but we can always put your name down on a list, contact you when it's ready, and we can set up the course for you. And we'll send Chris out to teach it for you too.
Cool.
So we really appreciate you for being here today, Chris. I appreciate you for coming in and preparing this for us. And if you all would like more information, go to our website, taproot.com. Contact us at info@taproot.com. Go to all of our little social media platforms and you'll find more information. We appreciate you and we look forward to seeing you back here next week.
Cool. Thank you.